In the past, people have asked me, what was your first rock album purchase? And I don't mean sort of like rock and roll, etc. And I had to think, and I had to think. And then I thought back to 1969-ish. And as I've mentioned before, Midlands Arts Centre, place I used to go. Black Sabbath used to rehearse there, and formerly when they were known as Earth, and various other bands as well, that whose names have escaped me just at the moment. And I remember the one instance where there was this big hoo-ha about somebody well known's going to be rehearsing there, going to be rehearsing there. See if you can get in. There was a group called Grapefruit that rehearsed a couple of times there. That's going back a long time. Anyway, the group in question, we found out, was Led Zeppelin. And I think this was before the first American tour that they went on. Pardon me if I've got that slightly wrong. But anyway, they were rehearsing there, and some of us were given the opportunity to sit in and just watch the band noodle around and rehearse. It was in the great big studio there, and I know that I think there were about 8 of us went up and sat there. God, I could barely hear anything for days. And someone who was road crew or whatever put 2 mattresses against the studio door. So I should have known at that point that, my ears were ringing. Anyway, we saw Robert Plant, Jimmy Page and whatnot, and they were fairly friendly, and it was great to see. Going back to the initial point, I have got the LP of this. Don't say that dirty word, vinyl. I have got the LP of this, but it's in my studio up on the ceiling at the moment. I thought it was a bright idea to decorate the ceiling years ago, so it's up there. Anyway, I can only bring it out. So it was this album, Led Zeppelin, the first album. Now, I think they say the first pressings had turquoise lettering on. I'm not absolutely sure about that. I know that my pressing, the one I've got now, or the Led Zeppelin LPs, and particularly this LP, haven't got turquoise pressing. I've got box sets, and I've got bootlegs, and this and that and the other. So, apart from buying sampler LPs, which would have rock artists from the USA, etc., fill your head with rock, and Rock Machine Turns You On, which I may have touched on that before, and various other things. Not a lot of money in those days, so the first one I went out, brand new, and bought, was this album, and I thought it was tremendous, and I still think to this day it stands up well. That famous photograph on the back, Good Times, Bad Times, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, You Shook Me, Dazed and Confused, that's brilliant. Your Time Is Gonna Come, Black Mountain Slide, Communication Breakdown, I Can't Quit You Baby, How Many More Times, produced by Jimmy Page, digitally remastered from the original master tapes by Jimmy Page and George Marino at Sterling Sound. Well, he's tinkered about with Zepp albums, hasn't he? And the catalogue a few times, Jimmy Page. So this is probably the first rock LP, but although it's CD. So that hopefully answers that question. I wonder what your first rock album LP was. I'm excluding the Beatles, because they had Sgt. Pepper's and a couple of the other LPs, but it was definitely that one. I really do think that it stands up well. Even, if I were to put it on today, I would thoroughly enjoy it. I know that school friend used to come round, and I had a Bush record player at that time, and it had a lead that went across to another little speaker that had an amp in it, and it gave you the stereo effect. Whether it was actually stereo, I don't know. And we used to take turns lying down, but with the record player one side and the little amp on the other side, with our heads listening between this. I mean, it's pathetic when you think back, but there again, not as bad as those people who went to gigs and they'd put their heads right into the speakers. God, they must have been tone deaf by the time that we were 21. Well, there you have it. Let me know what your first rock album was. Okay, thanks for watching, and come back soon.